All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Ah, I hope everyone's doing well. It's been a while since I've been on. Welcome to Morning Brew. I hope everyone's doing well today, wherever you are, whenever you're watching. I do hope it's a good one. So, I've got Cardinal Sin in back.
Hello there.
Hello. And as you notice, I didn't run the intro today.
Yeah, we got enough people. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, as the case may be.
And let's see here. All right, let's see. Let's go ahead. Yeah, obviously, I'm going to say good morning to Gorillas. Good morning to Cardinal Sin. Gorillas is in the back.
Yep.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, apparently my sister said I sounded a little pissed in my video this morning.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Well,
Top of the morning to you.
Well, it's the second day in a row I got woken up to the tornado sirens at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God.
Oh.
I knew we had like really strong straight line winds here because they had an alert about it, but I haven't heard anything about tornadoes.
They're actually
Nope.
around southern Minnesota.
No, northeastern Kansas, but
Oh,
within
Kansas.
driving distance.
Yeah, I bet in Kansas City. I've been through Kansas.
Yeah, Kansas City's cool. I'm going there later for the soccer game.
I ended up in the neighborhood I didn't belong in because I got lost.
That's what happened to me last time I went to a soccer game.
Yeah, the only time I intentionally ran a red light. Because I wasn't sticking
Well,
around to
maybe
see
you'll
what that
think
group.
about that in the future.
Yeah, because I wasn't sticking around in a gated neighborhood with bars on the windows. See what that group of five was walking up to my car for.
Huh.
Okay. Yeah, that's a case where I would say, run the risk and yeah.
That's a neighborhood they don't have cameras on the stoplights.
Self-preservation is more important than running a red light when there's no danger
Yeah,
of hitting anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure the
yeah,
way's clear and yeah.
yeah. I did.
And good evening, TWT. Good evening, Krish. It's easier to say that. Bonjour, 47 Yorktown.
I love it when you say bonjour. You have the greatest French accent. Your pronunciation is magnifique.
I've practiced many times. I actually
I know.
took French in middle school. It's one of the few words I can still say in French. But
I took French for 2 weeks in high school before I dropped out, which is a real pity because I was doing really well. We had
They didn't even offer it for us.
we learned the numbers and the letters, and
mm-hmm.
they said my pronunciation was great. And my high school, Lawrence High, at the time was the only high school in Lawrence.
Right.
And they were on this big authority kick. They had random locker checks and drug sniffing dogs, and, it just was out of control. Everybody knew that the entire football team was doing cocaine with the coach. But there were, crazy stuff like I had a friend who was younger than I was who was in Russian club, which was an extracurricular activity after school, and they wanted her to sign a document that said that she wouldn't drink, smoke, do drugs, or anything like that, even when she wasn't at school. And that was too much for her, and if that had happened to me, it would have been too much for me. Just, I'm a privacy freak.
It's like, I'm sorry. What I do on my own time, I understand on school property. I get that. You're on school time, you're on school property, you don't do it.
Yep.
I get it. Um, your own time, granted, most of the stuff isn't legal anyhow, but uh, not their concern.
Well, I mean, at 18 years old, I'd been smoking pot for 3 years. You know, not that it was a great choice or a great idea. I was a latchkey kid. Everybody that I hung out with smoked pot. You know, I can't defend it. I was a kid, but yeah, it's just, if I wanted to have a cigarette and I was old enough, but I couldn't. It was just it was creepy. I was like, I'm checking out of this place. You're all nuts.
I still remember when there were a few kids in my school that were allowed to. This is back when the teachers' lounge allowed smoking in it.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a few students, select students, who were allowed to go into the teachers' lounge and smoke. Like, yeah, whatever.
I remember they provided a smoking area in the front of the building, and then they rescinded it like a year after they put it in place because there are all these high school students in between classes smoking in front of the school, and it was a bad look. And I agree, it is a bad look, but it was your problem for putting the smoking section there in the first place, you idiots.
Exactly.
So,
oops, we didn't think this through.
Yeah. Typical bureaucracy.
Good morning, Carol's Cookies.
Top of the morning to you, Carol's Cookies. What's the cookie of the morning?
I haven't asked that in ages.
Carol, what is the cookie of the morning? She's probably taken the day off. It is a holiday. She doesn't have to make cookies if she doesn't want to.
That's true. It is a holiday, and part of the reason I decided to come on. I'm just glad that hopefully people will be able to come on and listen and whatever, since they're going to have the day off, or some of them will. Our American audience,
At least.
the rest of the world, though, no, it's just another day.
Yeah.
And I think I forgot to pin the message. There it is. Got it. And I forgot to share out my own stream.
Yep. I do that all the time.
It's like, you can't exactly say, hey, please share out the stream if you're not doing it yourself.
You haven't done it yourself, yeah.
Oh, there we go. Got that taken care of. I did do a few little ones in Discord earlier. And, hey, Haster, what's up? Brandon Looney Tunes Fan 2000, what's going on? How many subscribers are you up to so far? Chocolate chip. She said chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, that's what I had earlier for
But
breakfast.
I want macadamia.
Macadamia nuts.
Sounds lovely.
Now you're making me hungry.
But chocolate chip is it's a basic, simple choice.
Yeah. I should make some molasses cookies.
Only if you can share them.
I could send them to you there, Captain, but they might be a little stale by the time they get to you.
Oh, you can
Nah,
make sure they're not.
just wrap them up real good. Put them in saran wrap and
Yep.
put them in a one of those Ziploc sandwich bags. They'll be all right.
Oh, yeah. Hey, good morning, War Monkey. How are you today?
Top of the morning to you, War Monkey.
Oatmeal cookies. That's another choice. Yes.
Yeah, those are good. Peanut butter cookies. You really can't go wrong with cookies.
Jethro wanted to say hi.
Oh, hello, Chester.
Jethro.
Oh, hello, Chester. Good morning to you, Chester. That's a dope-looking kitty you've got there.
Just a regular barn cat.
Wow. That is a big old cat.
I used to have a cat that looked
Well,
like
that's what
that,
happens
salt
when
and pepper.
when you chop the nuts off. You take the claws out.
Ouch.
I always thought that you should, if you're going to declaw a cat, like if it's an indoor cat, you should declaw the front claws, but leave the back claws in, so if for some reason they do get out and they get attacked, they can still climb a tree.
That's true.
But
Well,
that's
he does
just
get
me.
out, but he comes right back in.
Well, that's a good kitty.
Yeah. The other one that's not declawed in there, if she gets out, she runs off. And the last time, like the one time she did get out and I lost her, I found her like 8 hours later up in the rafters in the garage. That was fun getting her down.
Fun would not be the word I would be using.
Oh, she's in a sarcastic sense.
Oh, I understand. I would still not even be using it in fun. Yeah, that's fun for me would be I'm afraid of heights. Sorry about that. And we've got NB Geek.
Hey, MB.
You're afraid of heights. I'm acrophobic. So I got you there.
What's
You're what
Afrophobic?
phobic?
I have a very big fear of heights.
Oh,
And it's called what?
Acrophobia.
Acrophobia. Yeah,
okay. I thought you said Afrophobia.
that's what I thought too.
Yeah,
I was like,
so
no,
like
it's not.
like you're afraid of afros.
Fear of a black height.
You
Getting
guys
off
have
to a
not
great
had enough.
start this morning.
Either you haven't had enough coffee or I haven't had enough coffee.
I'm working on it.
And Cardinal Sin, we need to talk about your LED porn addiction here.
Yeah? You know, like?
No, I like fine. I'm jealous because you look at mine. All I got's the one little light here.
I
One
see.
little light here.
These
There
things
you
are
are,
really
one
cheap
up
on
like a
on,
fucking boss.
You can
Yeah,
go
but
on
he's
Amazon
so-
and get these things really cheap.
Yeah, but this is so bright he has to wear sunglasses.
That's right. And I think I have a force imbalance in this room. Because I have I've got the big blue lightsaber, you know. Everyone's got to have a big blue lightsaber. And then I've got this little red lightsaber over here. And I think it's confusing the force. It doesn't know whether I'm a Jedi or a Sith. Nice. Now that's a lightsaber. Oh, any color you want, huh? Cool.
Pretty much. That was one of the perks of getting these. I bought one for each of us last Christmas.
Nice.
I actually didn't check, but I think it's eight to 10 colors
Wow.
that it'll cycle through, which is really cool.
That is cool.
Also, they do hold up in lightsaber fights. My son and I have done them a couple of times for fun.
That's awesome.
And yes, he has kicked my ass. Although we did have to come up with a rule in lightsaber fighting, we have to wear gloves. Because for some damn reason, we're always chopping each other's fucking hands off.
That's why they always wear gloves in the Star Wars movies.
No, I'm telling you, it's like I can't tell you how many times I've gotten into those little lightsaber battles or something like that throughout my life just for fun and stuff. And it's like somehow we always end up hitting each other's knuckles or hands. It's like we're supposed to be aiming for center mass, the head, the body, and somehow we always end up hitting the freaking hand.
Knuckles, yeah. Well,
how was your weekend, Cap?
Vader wears gloves. Luke wears gloves. I guess Ben didn't wear gloves, but he had a plan. So
I come in to borrow your time.
All right, what's up, honey? Well, now that you're here, you got to smack me for everybody. Otherwise, they'll be extremely disappointed.
No smack.
Oh, come on. You got to do the old kid smack.
Right. He's gonna have to go on mute.
There we go.
So I have a question, Captain.
I have an answer.
I have all kinds of merch from your Teespring store, or as it's now called, the Spring store. I got a shirt, I got a cup, I got a pint glass, and now they all say the wrong thing. Have you updated your merch?
No, I have not. I've gotten rid of all the merch.
Mm-hmm.
It's all
Well, I
gone.
guess,
I'm going to have to update it.
I have some very rare collectibles then.
Correct.
Could you get that comment off of there, please? It's driving me nuts. Thank you. No, that's better.
Much better, yes.
I remember there was you guys might remember this, there was a punk band called Broken Bones from England.
Mm-hmm.
They were like a speedcore band, and they opened up for the UK subs out at the Outhouse. And on their record, it started out like, I think they were Irish or Scottish, I don't remember, but they were like, this is really boring. And then they go, and they go into their song, and after the song, somebody goes, now that's better. They must have been Scottish, because it had a really hard to hear brogue. But after I listened to it plenty of times, that was a lot of fun. I miss those old, punk rock 7 inches and 10 inches and stuff like that.
It's hard to believe that there's nobody out there.
Is there nobody out there? Can anybody hear me?
Oh, my.
Oh.
Ground control to Major Tom.
So what do you have planned for this Memorial Day?
All my plans got changed.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, well. At least I don't have any trees down.
All right, and
I apologize, Carol. I did not know that I owed you a shirt, but send me an email and give me your details. And top of the morning to you, Kapla Berta Pere 5.
Kapla, bird.
we're waiting.
Hello world, it's Birdo Bray 5.
Is this thing on?
Well, the thing is, it would be better if I bring myself in. Because
Okay.
I wasn't ready to speak just yet.
Sorry.
Well,
But
if you're
no
not ready,
problem.
if you're not ready to speak immediately, You have to wait because once you pop on, everybody shuts up to hear it.
I'll wait
Well,
to let him.
that's
He can let himself in.
sometimes they don't. That doesn't happen though, since I still have control of the. I can move you around. I am in control. But no, sometimes you Captain. I just never spoke about it. So
Nope.
Now we have. This way I can be sure I'm ready to talk. It was like a near miss. I just went in and Mama Prey came over to speak to me. So then I muted. Actually, I had the phones out of my head. So then I put them back on and I hear, when you're ready. And I go, oh, okay. Hello, good morning, Kapla all. Let's
Kapla.
Let's
Top
take
of
the
the Kapla to
attention
you.
off of myself.
Kapla of the morning to you.
Kapla. Why does Irish Klingons?
Well, we didn't mind when there were British Klingons in Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country.
Oh, I've got a joke. What type of soap does Irish Klingons use?
What?
I don't know.
They don't wear soap. They're Irish. I'm kidding.
They don't use soap. They're Klingons.
Exactly.
That was
That's
how
what I
I
was going to say.
pictured the
That
joke.
seemed like the obvious answer. So
That's how I pictured it going in my head.
yeah.
But at the last minute, I went Irish because they're Europeans, and if you know me, I think Europeans don't use soap.
I think.
So Europeans are Klingons.
I think people in
Yes.
the UK vehemently deny being part of Europe.
Yeah, but the Irish don't.
So you're saying that Europeans are smooth-headed Klingons?
In a way. Uh-oh. I think I have somebody of European descent. What's that?
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of hate mail out of that.
Only from Europeans.
There's a lot
Hate
of
mail,
people in
hate
Europe.
email from Europe. What could be better?
I bring this particular one on board, Cap.
Anytime. You're in control.
I'm in control. Welcome, Darren Wagner.
Ooga
Top of
booga.
the morning to you,
folks.
Darren.
Morning,
Ah,
Darren.
he's speaking European.
The Irish greeting. Okay. Frosted Lucky Charms.
It was a
Nice
joke.
and delicious.
They're magically delicious.
Yes.
They're mad. Everyone's after me, Lucky Charms.
Well, Grandpa Geek, your little setup's looking better and better each time I see it behind you.
Yeah, actually, I've got to do a lot of work. If you saw the floor here, you'd be amazed I can walk around in this damn place.
Yeah, isn't that great? Having space
There
to
is
walk
some
around in.
there is some joy in that, but I really would like to get the stuff displayed better.
Well, Captain Fandom Nerd, congratulations on the rather bizarre number of 750.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I didn't hear a bird say "oi" when he was doing his Irish.
No, Irish people don't say oi.
Okay.
No, some of us
Only
do.
Australians.
I think almost everybody does when you do their accent, don't they?
Most do,
Well,
but not
I'm-
I.
I'm
Okay.
I'm Jewish on my father's side, and I'm Irish on my mother's side. So I say oi, and it's spelled O-Y.
Ah.
Like oi gavalt.
And what is "oi" like a phonetic variant of "hey," or like "hey, get over here"? "Oi, get over here." You know.
Well, the only two things I've ever heard them say is oi vey and oi gavalt, which is just like a, I'll be fucked kind of a expression. So
Okay.
The Almighty has assured me safe passage, but he's pretty sure you are fucked.
Oh yes, and Mount Elysium says, yes, we are in Ireland and 100% definitely not part of the UK. Not now or ever again.
Hey, Ireland, can we give you Chicago?
The green water in the city.
Actually, if I had my way, I make no bones about it. I'd rather hand Chicago back over to the mob. It'd be a lot more civilized than what Lightfoot is doing.
Well, the Irish mob.
The Italian mob, back when it was civilized.
Right. Yeah. Well, you can thank the IRS for ending that little arrangement.
Well, we can actually thank most of the country for creating the IRS amendment to the Constitution and actually approving it, you bastards. What were you thinking?
I don't know. There was always these strange people who would come around every so often claiming the amendment was never properly ratified, so it's not law. And the whole thing is that you only owe your taxes because you sign a paper saying you'll pay the taxes when you take a job. And if you don't sign that paper, you don't actually owe taxes.
Oh, Bird, I swear to God, I got like 5 minutes into hearing you and Vile Mike go at it yesterday. And I'm like, boy, I'm glad I'm going to a movie because I do not want to be a part of this conversation.
Yeah. Well, Mike should have been online.
Well, I was gonna sit that one out, but then I seen that like Bird was going on, and I was like, oh, I'll put my 2 cents in too.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Well, Mike was in no emotional condition to be online with that kind of discussion.
Well, I knew I wasn't going to change his mind, but
I
was kind of hoping his kids might hear a different, a different view and think about it a little longer. Not that I have any, say in how he raises his kids, but I could hear from, and I don't blame them that they were definitely given what the school said to say, talking points, or what Vile said to say. I don't know. I don't know if they're homeschooled or not. I don't want to step into something.
No,
but assuming they're not homeschooled, it sounded like talking points that any teacher in America would have given out.
Any teacher in America is a pretty broad stroke there.
I know, but many. That's what's okay. Many publicly funded teachers.
Kind of painting yourself with a broad brush there, aren't you?
Bird, more like urban teachers, because like I know a few of our teachers who wouldn't mind just being armed at our school just in case something was going to be happening.
I assume that was an urban school there.
Yeah, my wife brought up something interesting the other day, where she said, "Do you notice this seems to happen in rural areas, not in urban areas?" And I kind of been when I said, "Oh yeah, they don't have to shoot each other in school; they just shoot each other in the streets later."
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it sounds funny at first, but when you really think about it,
not wrong.
you look at the places that have a lot of, like Chicago, for example, you don't hear about, those kind of shootings, but you hear about the weekends and things like that. Well, probably because, I hate to say it, but I think some of these gangsters are a little smart, and they know that, okay, if we do it in a school, it's going to get a lot of attention, but if we do it on the streets, virtually nobody gives a shit.
Well, and unfortunately, not just in Chicago, but in general, a lot of gangster or gang-related violence is black-on-black violence. And I think that's why a lot of people don't care, which is unfortunate. But there is a very real Irish mob, even in the United States. But, of course, it doesn't hold a candle to the Italian mob.
The other thing you got to remember is that most of the violent crime that happens in places like Chicago happens while they're already committing another crime, as opposed to
I was robbing a liquor store and somebody shot me.
As opposed to a mass what do you want to call it?
Shooting,
mass casualty event.
Yeah.
It's
A mass casualty event that really takes the gun right out of the equation, doesn't it?
Well, it should. The worst school mass casualty event in the United States happened in 1927, and the gun wasn't even involved.
I've heard about
that?
that
An explosive or
1927
something?
massacre.
Yeah. Wasn't like a councilman that planted bombs in the school because he lost like lost an election or something, and he's taking it out on the townspeople's kids.
Maybe.
I think that's what I think. If I remember that correctly.
Man, talk about a sore loser.
Yeah.
And that was 1927. So I mean, we had.
Guess he had a very
but
explosive
since
personality.
then, all these mass casualty events have involved guns.
Not all of them.
Well, okay, not all of them.
Well, the majority of them, in a lot of ways, involve a handgun, not a rifle.
Sure. I'm just saying, by calling it a mass casualty event, you're kind of dodging the whole gun violence aspect.
Well,
of it,
dodging
not necessarily dodging. Mass casualty is actually
what you care about is the death of children or the death of
but the
people.
term
Then
mass
that's how you would look
casualty
at it.
is-
If you're wanting to use the event to come up with some kind of new legislation for gun control, then you would emphasize the gun.
Right.
Or
well,
if
no,
they happen
actually,
to use
if
a
you were
gun.
going to emphasize anything, you'd stop worrying about the weapon. You'd stop worrying about the gun and start actually focusing on what the real issue is, which is what caliber of ammunition is in that damn gun.
Yeah.
Because that changes everything. You can have an AR-15, as they like to point that one out. Okay, an AR-15 can shoot 5.56. I can also buy one that shoots 22 long rifle that ain't going to go through a fucking car door.
Yeah, they have a real hate boner right now for the AR-15 because it can look so much like an M16 to an untrained observer.
Well,
the problem is the military doesn't even. What is an M16 versus an AR-15? An M16 has burst, 3-round burst.
Well,
that is really the only difference, and that's the M16A2 because they replaced the M16A1 that had auto, which was, there's a term we use in the military called spray and pray. That's one of the reasons they got rid of automatic weapons.
The AR-15 is a sporting rifle. It's not anybody would use that
until
in combat
you file
or
the firing pin down. Yeah.
You have to. You would have to modify the gun so heavily that you actually modify the core of the weapon in order to get it to be that way, and then you wouldn't have an AR-15 anymore.
No, exactly.
No, you'd have an automatic rifle.
And mass casualty, the reason why I was saying the term there is actually it is a very common military term in especially in the medical field and stuff, or in our briefings where we're told, yeah, we had a mass casualty event.
And I can understand that from a military perspective, but if we're talking about the two mass shootings that happened this week, or within a week anyway, they're both mass casualty events and mass shootings. They happen to be anyway.
Right.
Well, the problem we run into really, and I'm gonna blame both sides on this one, the left and the right, is all they do in the media is just as culpable in this. Is all they do is the same fucking talking points and the same virtue signaling, and I'm talking both sides. And I'm like, look, how do you fix this? Well, I kind of need the details on how this individual managed to do this. You can't come up with, this is what I hate. I hate these knee-jerk bullshit solutions that never work. It's like, we need to get the facts. We need to get the full story to paint the right picture to figure out, okay, what was fucked up? What did we screw up here?
Yeah. And then you got Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson immediately proposed a school safety bill that would have, diverted, more funding to having roving cops at our schools and things of that nature. New York Senator Chuck Schumer shot it down and killed it because he wants gun control legislation instead. For things.
Well, Chuck Schumer's been in there
for weapons that this particular shooter didn't even use, because that's their mindset. That's their mindset.
Yeah.
This is an emergency to be taken advantage of rather than a problem to be solved.
Correct.
Well, as Rahm Emanuel said, never let a crisis go to waste.
Right. Exactly.
Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course,
we do have long memories. We do remember what these people say.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as Schumer, I'm going to say this. Schumer, to me, is like McConnell. They're both two old fucks who need to go to pasture and get out of the way.
Yeah.
I'll agree with you on that one. Including most of the rest of Congress.
Actually, there are quite, it's funny when people find out I'm conservative and I tell them, no, I don't like Mitch McConnell.
Yeah.
I regret one vote I ever placed, and it wasn't for Barack Obama. It was actually because I voted for Lindsey Graham in the last Senate race in 2020, before I moved to Indiana. And that is the one I regret.
I wouldn't lose sleep over it. He was going to win without your vote.
I know
anyway.
he was going to win, but still, I'd rather be able to go to sleep doing what my wife did, because my wife is not into politics like me, but she hears me talk about him a lot. And she didn't even vote for the Republican or the Democrat Center. She just left it blank. She told me that afterwards, because I was very pissed at what Graham was doing after the election, the 2020 election. I was like, you spineless son of a bitch. I should have listened to my gut. And my wife's like, I left that blank. And I looked at her and I said, fuck, I wish I had.
You got to at least vote for a third-party candidate or write somebody in, a libertarian or a progressive, wherever you fall on which side of the aisle, at least write in Mickey Mouse or something.
Well,
I was just thinking that.
Sorry,
Well,
not
at
Mickey
least-
Mouse.
I go to the primaries, so at least then I can kind of have a vote on who the official candidate is.
The unfortunate
Well,
thing,
I had a guy
thing
who
about
came in,
the entire representative democracy, or that we live in a representative republic thing, is that for the last 10 to 15 years, I guess, it hasn't been representing the people. The representative republic or democracy is representing the moneyed interests, which give to both parties. And like Grandpa Geek was saying before, that just screws up everything, because they don't make laws. Legislators don't make laws for their constituents or even human beings. They make them for mega corporations. And
Well,
let's say you start with somebody that's a progressive. Okay, just for example, somebody that's been poor most of their life, like AOC was a waitress, for example.
Right.
Somebody that's been poor all their
family,
life,
though.
they become a congressperson or a senator or whatever, and suddenly they're making, I don't know, $200,000 a year or whatever it is, and they get all the perks, and it's very difficult to resist these moneyed interests that say, hey, you do me a favor after I contribute to your campaign, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's very difficult to resist that, no matter which side you enter politics from. I've always said that, the body politic has, a left arm and a right arm, a right arm and a left arm, and they both meet at the trunk. And it's the same exact thing as what we're talking about here. It's the moneyed interests that get represented, not the people.
I think
I'd vote for Carol.
I think at the end of the day, the biggest mistake a lot of people make, and I constantly say it, and I'm going to say it until I'm in the ground. You want to affect change the most, you need to focus on your local and county, state politics.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Get on the school
I'm worried
board.
about what DC's.
If COVID shows us one thing, it's that voting for the right governor and representatives there is as important, if not more so, than who you vote for president.
Exactly.
Exactly. Actually, who you vote for as your representative is in my mind in some ways. Sometimes even who you vote for governor is more important than who you vote for president.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I just
if you want to get down to the nitty gritty of it, if you want to affect change, you can run for the water board or the school board or, the county, whatever, the dog catcher, and work your way up. That's the way it's supposed to happen. But you get some of these people just walk in having no political experience, and I think, I think that people that run for office should have some kind of, maybe they studied or graduated with a degree in political science, or they've been, if they're running for governor, like I said, they've been elected to some sort of county or state seat, and so on, all the way up. Now, I think that would take care of a lot of problems, but obviously anyone has the right to run for office, and I wouldn't step in the way of anyone's right to do that.
I don't think we've got a lot of problems with unqualified people running for office. I don't see that being an issue. And I do think that once in a while, having a somebody with a completely different viewpoint who didn't spend their life in the game isn't the wrong thing.
Yeah, no.
You got to look at politics. There's really, let's be honest. You have right now currently have the Republican Party, the Democrat Party in America. You go to another country like, say,
why does nobody say the Democratic Party anymore?
The Democratic Party? Oh,
we don't call them Democrats. We call them Democrats.
Yeah, we just call them Democrats.
But it's the Democratic Party.
We don't call it we don't necessarily say the Republican Party. We call it the Republican. We just call them Republicans.
Yeah, we don't call it the Republic Party.
But when you say the Republicans and the Democrats, and then you talk about the party, the Republican Party, and it's always been the Democratic Party. And I've noticed, especially in the last 5 years, a lot of people refer to it as the Democrat Party, which is incorrect, at least grammatically.
Who cares?
Well, I do want to point out. I will point out at one point in history, it used to be known as the Democrat-Republican Party.
Yeah, that's true.
Or the Democratic Republican Party, since it's a modifier of Republican.
Yeah, true. No, that's a good question. Actually, I didn't even think about that.
It annoys me. I don't know why. It just annoys me. And once I saw like talking heads on the news starting to say Democrat Party, it just was like, face palm time. But
I don't know. Maybe that's probably in the same boat with me. Anytime I hear, doesn't matter what side of the aisle, when they say our democracy, and I just want to be like, I want to fucking punch you.
What democracy?
Yeah. I'm like, okay, show me in the please show me in the Constitution where the word democracy and Democrat are written. And I will shut my fucking mouth. Now, and then
wait. How about
go in and ask me where
how
the
about the Declaration of Independence? Would that be okay?
What's that?
What about the Declaration of Independence? If I found
the Declaration of Independence
is
not the Constitution. Okay? The Declaration of is not the Constitution. Just like whenever anybody talks about separation of church and state, that is not in the First Amendment. That is from the Federalist Papers.
Yep, it's true.
That was oh God, who wrote that one? Was it Jefferson? Thank you. Yeah. For the Federalist Papers. That was one of the correspondence from Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
But it's not in the Constitution.
It was specifically over a church that was worried that once the Constitution took effect, that they wouldn't be able to practice the same kind of worship that they were used to, because there was this other church in the same town, which by today's standards, they were both dinky, but they were concerned that this other, church was going to take over and it was going to be the law of the land or something like that. And I think that's why they were written, just to clear that up and make sure that everyone knew, nobody's going to impose a state religion.
I think even the Articles of Confederation had something like that, which, for those of you who don't know, was our pre-document to the Constitution.
And I don't remember. Not a constitutional scholar, obviously. Did they say anything that meant that would be superseded by the Constitution once they ratified the Constitution?
Okay, so what happened was the Articles of Confederation were ratified and done by the Continental Congress during the Civil War. Or not.
Grab me, guys. I'll talk to you guys later.
See ya.
See you,
Darren.
The War for Independence?
During the Revolutionary War, we adopted the Articles of Confederation. Now, the Articles of Confederation was our original, for lack of a better term, our original Constitution.
Right.
But it was very different from what we have now. It had one branch of government. There was no judicial branch. There was no executive branch. There was really only a legislative branch. It gave a lot of control to the states, but certain central powers, which was the intention, were not there. But it turned out it wasn't working out too well. That's why you had things like incidents like the Shea Rebellion. You can look that up. And what happened was they were trying to get a convention together to relook at the Articles of Confederation. And the first attempt only got 5 out of the 13 states to send delegates. And they felt this is too important to just have 5 decide this kind of thing. Eventually, another guy, and I'm trying to think of who these 2 were, but it's too early in the morning for me to remember. Another guy was able to get 12 out of the 13 states at the time to come in and see it. The only state that did not send representatives at that time for the Constitutional Convention, technically the first one, was Rhode Island. So they originally went in to vote on modifications to the Articles of Confederation. But by the time they got done, they created a whole new document, a whole new government that was like, okay, we're going to have to abolish this, vote to abolish this, have the rest of the states abolish this, and adopt this new constitution. And that's what we did.
So the short answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not good at short answers.
That's okay. I think that was enlightening.
There are some interesting
people.
similarities between. There are some interesting similarities and differences when you actually look at the Articles of Confederation and the Constitution. And actually, when I was teaching the Civil War, I did a compare because I actually thought of something that never popped in my head. I was like, did the Confederate States of America have their own constitution? Because it never was brought up in history, and I was found out they did have their own constitution.
Yeah, it was the Articles of Confederation.
No, it wasn't. The Articles of Confederation had been abolished almost 90 years before the Civil War happened.
What did they call it?
I don't know what they called their constitution off the top of my head. But I read it, and there are a few things in that constitution that if we had those in our constitution would actually be beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
The one key thing was what is called, okay, you guys are familiar with the veto, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, a veto is an all or nothing. You either veto the whole bill or you sign the whole bill. In the CSA, they actually had their executive branch, their president had what was called line item veto, which means you could veto certain portions of a bill out.
Just cross them out, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And they also had something similar to what Mexico has for their executive branch. The president basically gets a one term. It's a one and done. You cannot rerun again.
Definite food for thought.
Well, I try to read historical facts and keep the emotions out of it. I mean, I understand emotions and passion can come into play in a lot of areas, and I support that, especially in history when you're passionate about it. But don't let that passion override the facts.
Yeah, I think the things like the Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalist Papers fascinating. I think American history is really interesting, although when I was in high school I did not.
Yeah.
I just find all kinds of history fascinating. Roman history, world history, you know. But American history is, one, very specific and unlike anything else in the world, and two, it's ours. And so that makes it not only fascinating but important to know.
Yeah.
Historically, also, it's very short.
Yeah. Hey, Abby, you should go on to a History with R&R and talk about the differences between the Articles of Confederation and the Constitution. I think that'd be an interesting one for that live stream.
Well, if I ever get a chance, if I talk to Random Canuck and Professor Brainy Specs, maybe we could set that up at one point. I'd have to take some time to reread both of them again side by side and kind of do the compare and contrast.
You know, that might
be all for it. That
might be an interesting part of the discussion is to read from both.
Yeah, and Rambling Canuck already said that they could do like a recording type thing for like a premiere if you can't make it at the time they have there.
Like a video as opposed to a stream?
Well, it'd still be like a live stream. It'd just be recorded instead of live.
Yeah.
I might actually hit up Canuck or Brainy Specs about that. That would actually be an interesting. I'd personally enjoy that.
Yeah, you'll get a faster response from Professor Brainy Specs because I think he does the scheduling.
Well, there you go.
By the way, did anybody else see Top Gun this weekend?
No,
I haven't seen it yet.
It's
Actually,
on my watch
I
list.
haven't seen the first one.
Ah, okay.
Critical Drinker actually gave it a good review, so
Everybody that I've seen has given it a really good review.
I haven't done a review on it, but yeah, I'm gonna say it was really good. From the pacing was good, the storyline was well done. The fact that we know so much of it was actually done in real planes and real cockpits and stuff, when you see the G-force on them. I asked my wife when we got done with the movie later, I said, did you at some of those points during those takeoffs and stuff find yourself jerking left and right and pushing yourself like during takeoff, kind of doing this? And she was like, yeah. And actually, we were both kind of exhausted after the movie. We found it kind of almost felt almost roller coaster like.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which is great because it was intense. I mean,
it was immersive.
Knowing
right?
that most of this is done in real fighter planes and everything. And the jerking back and forth. I'm sitting there finding out. I'm like, my head's going this way, my head's going that way as they're tilting. I'm monitoring movements. I'm pushing back. I'm going forward. I'm like, why am I doing this? It's like I'm in Afterburner game from back in the day.
Did you happen to notice the rest of the audience? Were they doing that too?
No, I didn't focus on the audience.
What's good is that if you're a player of Microsoft Flight Simulator, you get that aircraft free, and everybody's playing on that now.
What is it, an F-18?
They are flying in the main part of the movie. They are using F-18s, yes.
Yeah.
But overall, good movie. I will say they did a really good job with Val Kilmer's character. and how to incorporate him into the story, even though, him having, the actor having his, throat cancer and everything. They managed to incorporate that into the story.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
actually put some impact to it.
And relevance.
So, like, for example, since Val Kilmer can't talk, a lot of the dialogue you find out he has with Maverick, well, a lot of it's them texting back and forth. But when we finally see the two together for the short scene they're together, it's like, how do you expand on 30 plus years of friendship in this small moment? And I thought it was well done.
I understand that Kilmer's son does a lot of his dialogue now. That he sounds enough like him that he does his dad's lines. They just ADR, they loop it,
That I don't know.
I actually, there's a Val Kilmer documentary. I think it's called Val or Kilmer. And he's talking during that. But it was brought up that for films and acting work, that his son does his dialogue. But that was back when he was able to still talk, at least a little bit. He wasn't screaming or anything. But yeah, throat cancer, that'll mess you up.
I think if you enjoyed the first movie, I'm fairly confident you're going to enjoy this movie. If you weren't a big fan of the first movie, it's probably not for you then, and that's okay.
I saw Az from Heel vs. Babyface, his review, and he was just ecstatic about it. I think he also said he didn't see the first one, or maybe he saw the first one
recently.
Yeah.
That was kind of Cardinal. That was actually similar with my wife. I had seen Top Gun back in the 80s on VHS, and my wife had never seen Top Gun, and until maybe a year ago, she watched the first movie, and then watched this one with me. And she enjoyed the first movie so much she was really looking forward to the second movie. Although I think she got a better deal out of it. I had to wait 30 years for the fucking sequel to come out. She only had to wait a couple of months.
I thought it was 35.
It might have been 30. Dude, I don't know.
Not to pick nits, but I mean, there have been a lot of sequels for movies lately that were 30, 35-year-old sequels, like the Ghostbusters Afterlife and this and a few others.
Well, I will say this: Ghostbusters Afterlife and Top Gun Maverick, they obviously went to the Cobra Kai school of how to do a sequel or
not woke,
continue a
right?
franchise properly.
Yeah. And one of the things that Az said that I thought was really cool was that, with Maverick, you've got a movie that has no agenda, isn't shoving any, virtue signaling down your throat. It's just a great, fun popcorn movie, and movies, now I'm talking about myself, not Az. Movies, I think, in my humble opinion, should be escapist so that, unless it's a political thriller or something like that, or based on a true story, even those, to a degree, should take you out of your life and immerse you in the film, and tell a story that's entertaining and worth the ticket price, instead of the modern sensibilities in movies where you're going to get a lecture by a new director and a new writer that just got out of film school, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
So I hope that trend continues. I really do. And earlier I was talking about merch.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got my little Fourth Doctor sonic screwdriver here. Speaking of merch, Captain, do you have plans to to redesign your merch?
Not at this time. I'm gonna talk to Gitza about it, but I haven't hadn't had anything worked out yet. So yeah, I'll talk to him.
Cool.
Other than that, no. And good morning, Thomas Potts.
Hey, Thomas.
Top of the morning to you, Thomas. Top of the morning to you.
Okay, Cardinal Sin. So what do you have back here? Let's see. We got Flash Gordon, Star Wars, Escape from New York, They Live.
Mm-hmm. I've got my Star Wars lit poster. It's got batteries in it, so you know the lightsabers and the blasters light up. And then of course we've got Jenny Agutter over here from Logan's Run, Call of Cthulhu. I've got the Rocinante up there, Vampirella, various Battlestar Galactica ships. You can see Data back there, and Worf on the other side. There's a lot of Doctor Who stuff. I just recently got my my Ghostbusters figures.
Do Ray Egon.
Yeah. This came off.
Cardinal, we had a guy who had a missed opportunity at the parking lot party I went to, the parking lot toy store sale. He only brought one Star Trek figure, happened to be Captain Sisko, and he's like, man, I got like 3 totes of these things back at home I could have brought. And I'm like, well, if you had, you'd have made a shit ton more money off me.
Yep. Yeah, these are my newest additions. I need to get some shelving units that are actually designed for the more shelves that are designed for the shelving units, because when I went to Home Depot to get the boards cut, they wouldn't cut any more than after like 12 inches, and I needed it to be 14 inches. So I've got more shelves that are, you know, longer, and I just need to find somebody that's got a bandsaw that will cut it, you know, just to 14 inches.
Yeah, I've got what I want to do back here in my room here is I want to put some what are they called? Well, bookshelves, but in wall mounted bookshelves. I want to actually have them to where they stay connected to the wall. And I've actually looked up what I can do to do that, and I'm like, okay, it's actually not going to be. It's not going to be hard. It's going to be, you know, a little bit of money and some time. But honestly, I looked at it and I'm like, I can do this. Because, I mean, even if I just use regular bookshelves like this with those stupid back corners they have, those stupid back pieces that are just basically paper.
Right.
Okay, I take the measurements, go over to like Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, get a backing that's the size of it, attach that to it. I've already got plenty of wood here in the house to where once I find the studs, put a beam up and then drill them into the beam.
I just wanted to have something that was interesting to look at. I didn't want to, you know, do like a nerderotic type thing where it's just filled with stuff. I just wanted it to be interesting to look at. And I'm going to be moving from the $25 StreamYard plan to the $50 StreamYard plan because that supports 1080p. And then you'll be able to see all that stuff back there. Also, I'm going to bring that shelving unit closer up to where I am. I'm going to move it like 4 feet my direction, and that'll make it easier to see.
That's true.
At this point, I pretty much have everything that I want I think I pre-ordered the red Tron light cycle.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got
Does
a
it have
couple things
LED
on
lights in
pre-order.
it?
Huh?
Does it have like LED lights in it to light it up?
I don't know, but it wouldn't be it wouldn't be difficult to do. I think if it's not.
Well,
Or I
Mega
could
Cropper, you're welcome to come on the panel.
I could just put this in there.
Oh, that's true. So at the parking lot sale, I will say this: this was probably the best thing I
Ooh.
grabbed.
Nice.
Now I already had one of these. I already had the Adam West Batmobile, but what got me was the Adam West, Burt Ward, Batman and Robin that were inside.
Yeah,
So
that's very
Holy
cool.
Crap, the rain's coming down now.
So you have that's why I grabbed it, honestly, because of those two right there. Like I already had a Batmobile, but I was like the Adam West, Burt Ward in there just to me just kind of sold it for me.
Absolutely. I used to have when I was a little kid, I used to have a Batmobile where you back it up and it would go off on its own for a while.
Oh, I remember those days.
That was awesome. Actually, my very first word was Batman, which was probably disappointing to my parents, but it was their fault for putting my crib. It was their fault for putting my crib right next to the TV. Every day when my sister and my brother would come home, Batman would be on, and they would go da 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 da, and I would go Batman.
I could believe that.
So I was a
it
geek
would make sense
from birth.
Well, I remember one time hearing about a story on Jeopardy where Alex Trebek talked about a guy who said his parents mentioned that he used to somehow as a kid do the Final Jeopardy tune when he was sleeping.
Huh, that's interesting.
Okay, Cap, if you don't want to lose more, if you don't want to lose all these subscribers you've gotten, you might want to take me off the screen.
What starship do you have back there? Is that the Enterprise?
That's the Enterprise. The big one is the Enterprise A.
Cool.
That was a Christmas gift.
Now, when you say Enterprise
actually,
A,
this.
Do you mean the TMP or just the original?
No, I mean the Enterprise A from
the motion picture.
No, not the motion picture. I have the refit. Okay, I actually have two of those. I have the Enterprise refit. That is the motion picture, and then I have the big one, which is the Enterprise A, which is from the Voyage Home.
Oh,
Mega Croppers
from the Voyage Home. This is the only one that I have.
Yes, Bird.
Mega Croppers asking, can we talk about the Cisco Eddington feud?
You betrayed your uniform!
I don't know what there is to talk about. I think we all accept that there was a feud. That
Cisco
Eddington
won.
Yeah, Eddington lost. Although he did have a strong. I got my phone. Sorry, I'll be right back. He is having a strong argument.
Yeah.
Hey, Cardinal. Here's my refit one I have.
I'm not
this
sure
is
if this is
the motion picture refit one,
or just the regular. This one, yeah, this one is from the motion picture because it's got those square nacelles.
Yep. NX-01.
Love the NX-01. Got one on order.
Let me show you my favorite. Though, if I'm going to be honest, my favorite out of everything is the one I most recently got.
Can you hold that up closer to your camera?
It's the Doomsday
the Planet
Machine.
Destroyer. Nice. The Doomsday Machine. Is that from Eagle Moss?
Yes.
I didn't know they sold that. Are they out? Are they out of print?
They've been out for a few years. Unfortunately, this one is a bit difficult to find. I had to actually order it off of eBay.
Wow, I bet that was a pretty penny.
Actually, not too bad. It was only $50. It wasn't too
Really?
off the nose from some of the other stuff I bought from Eagle Moss directly.
That would be a great present for my brother. He would go just insane to get one of those. Why is it so hard to put back?
Oh, yes, Thomas Potts. I have an exceptional library of Star Trek Discovery memorabilia.
I bet you don't.
Yeah, if I did, there would be a purpose for it, which would be great for bonfire.
Light them on fire.
I mean, if we see you with Star Trek Discovery stuff, we'd be calling up the mental institution for you. Because obviously,
That reminds me of the Bill Hicks routine. Send up A1.
Sorry, I'll stick with call me old fashioned. I stick with 66 to 05.
I'll have to put this back together later. It's not.
Now, I am going to be completely honest. I don't think Strange New Worlds is that bad. It's okay.
Not that good
it's got
either.
some potential.
No.
But it's right now. I'm starting to wonder if it's a little too late.
I think
let me put it
I
to you
think
this
it's still
way.
Kurtzman Trek, you know.
It's not in the original universe.
No, it's not. Well, they had the thing in the very first pilot, in the pilot episode. Here's what kind of turned me off. One, them showing video of, what happened during Earth during that time. And of course, I was like, oh, great. Let's make sure we put a Trump flag in there so everybody can see that.
Yeah.
And let's put the January 6th riots up there. And then they talked about this. They said, our second Civil War. And I'm like, well, whose second Civil War? Are we just supposed to assume it was America's second Civil War? A lot of countries have civil wars.
Yep. Maybe it was a world civil war.
It was the eugenics wars. I was like, wait a minute. The eugenics wars happened in the fucking 90s.
Right.
And then it was like World War III. I'm like, wait a minute. Are you telling me all three of these are the same goddamn thing now?
Wait a second.
For a while, they've been pushing that.
Bird of Prey, can you clear that up?
I'm sorry.
But yeah, there was also a scene where they showed the World War III thing, and it's supposed to be 2026 when World War III happens. Yet, notice during the explosion, a fucking Federation shuttlecraft is flying off.
That must be the one containing Khan, Noonien Singh.
Oh, yeah, I did catch that reference very early on when I heard her say Singh. I was like, wait a minute, did I hear that right? I was like, did I hear that name right? Because I know they didn't just put that in at random.
Yeah, that's a problem for me, to be honest. And another problem for me is when she, as a cadet, or whatever her rank is bossing around Captain Pike. I'm like, chain of command, come on now. This is a military vessel. It might be an exploratory vessel and not a warship, but it's still a military vessel. You still have officers, non-commissioned officers, there's a chain of command. You don't see any other Star Trek show where they're just throwing around stuff like that, dropping F-bombs, all this kind of thing. It's not Star Trek. And I don't care that it takes place in an alternate universe. As a matter of fact, it makes me care less. I want to know about our Star Trek universe, not the Kurtzman or the JJ universe or the not the Kelvington universe, the Kelvin universe.
The Jar Jar verse.
Right. Yeah. I want to live in the Roddenberry Trek universe, and
you mean Berman era?
If their excuse is that this is an alternate universe and it's not the mirror universe from Mirror, and I think they did like 6 episodes of DS9 in that same mirror universe, right?
I thought it was 4.
I think it was 4.
4. Okay.
I think it was 4.
But those were really cool, and then of course Enterprise did they're two
Mirror Darkling.
Yeah, and Amir Darkly, and that was in the
Which,
same
if
universe.
you just look at those 2 episodes, they are just a romp.
Oh yeah, a lot of fun, and the whole thing with season 4 of Enterprise is they knew that they were going to cancel it afterwards, so they gave it to Manny Koto, who was a hardcore Trekker, knew everything about Star Trek, and that's why it was a romp, because he got to play in the sandbox that he always wanted to. And I think they should have done that a lot earlier, and they shouldn't have canceled it. They should have given it more time. It had a rough start. I understand that. The first episode is garbage. But if you look at Next Generation, the first 2 episodes are, very hit and miss, very spotty.
Yeah.
Does this sound any better?
Yeah, you sound great.
Cardinal said in the first 3 because you forgot Code of Honor.
Code of Honor. Refresh my memory.
The one where Tasha Yar gets what's that what Lagon or whatever his name, wants Tasha Yar's wife. And if they don't give it,
no, we're not talking about that.
Let's skip it. It's the All Black Planet.
I don't remember that.
Tribe.
Oh yeah,
Good.
no. I
Let's
do.
not
I remember
talk
that one.
about that.
Okay, sorry, Cap.
So what are your plan for?
I personally don't think it's racist, but
No, I don't either. I thought it was an enjoyable episode. But like I said, there are a lot of Star Trek episodes in all of the franchise shows that weren't very good. There are some that are great. Like Voyager on the whole wasn't that great. It did have some very good episodes. My favorite episode of Voyager is the one where they find a quarter-sized wormhole, and they use it to talk to a Romulan commander, I think, and they find out that it's like 30 years in the past or 100 years in the past or something like that. So they could beam onto the ship, but they'd be way before their time. They'd have to give up their commissions and not be in Starfleet and not say anything or risk tainting the timeline.
Yeah, it was 20 years into the past.
20, yeah.
do you really think the Romulans of 20 years ago would give up an option on taking Federation secrets?
In that episode, it seemed to me like they were painting him to be kind of one of the good guys.
Yeah, he is, perhaps. But once those people got to the past, it's not going to be for some scientist.
They're gonna torture the Federation crew for their future secrets, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, even Janeway isn't that bad of a captain that she would have allowed them to be taken home.
I don't know that they mentioned that during that episode, but it's certainly something that Tuvok could have brought up, as a bone of contention. But I think that
Tuvok had to kill
consensus...
Janeway, he would have.
What's that?
That's a great what if episode. What if Janeway decided to go back in time with the Romulans? And then you'd have to say, Tuvok would come out and say, Captain Janeway, you have been my friend for a long time, but it is only logical now. I must kill you, as you would surely lead us all to be tortured.
I think that Tuvok would probably lock her up in the brig rather than just kill her outright, because that's more Mirror Universe style. But they could do that on Prodigy,
He's got to go full on.
They could do that on Prodigy.
So I wanted to point something out. I noticed of all the captains, Kirk got screwed. Picard became an admiral. Janeway became an admiral. Archer became the president of the Federation, the first Federation
Kirk was an admiral,
and he was an admiral in Starfleet. Cisco became basically a god, Kirk got
Yeah.
demoted.
Kirk was an admiral and then got demoted so that he could be a captain, of a starship again.
Basically where he belonged.
Then he got to go to the
Not behind a
Nexus.
desk. Say again, Bird?
Then he got to go to the Nexus, which is
Right.
arguably the best place of all to go.
Well,
But then he took Picard's stupid, like, come back with me, instead of, hey, old man, go back a year before and you can control the entire effing planet.
And the other thing, you have to remember about that movie is that they were writing the All Good Things, the finale to TNG at the same time, and the whole Nexus thing, first of all, doesn't smack of Star Trek to me at all. But secondly, once Picard got into the Nexus, I think he would forget all about his mission and what he was trying to do, because that's the nature of the Nexus. He would have found himself in, his best perfect universe, which they showed. He was married to a good-looking woman and had children, because it left him emotionally devastated that his nephew Rene had died in a fire, and so he was sort of the last of his line. So I think that he probably just would have stayed there. That wouldn't have made a very interesting movie, but I think that's, if they're going to use the Nexus like that, where Captain Kirk is just making flapjacks for some chick, I think it would have had the same effect on Picard. But it's a really lousy plot device as far as writing goes. Mm-hmm. It's a bad movie. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if they're gonna use that, they might as well, establish some rules, because I mean that energy ribbon is coming back, right? It goes through the universe every so often.
Like
the thing is,
years or something.
If it comes that close to Earth, it really can't ever be that far from Earth. I mean,
yeah, if it's like a comet or something, but that energy ribbon isn't just a one-off, is my point.
True. But also the whole thing was that the Enterprise B was the only ship in the area that they could go, mm-hmm. So, I mean, realistically, how far is there another Federation ship away from Earth? There can't be that far.
I really think it was also
Vulcan
a horrible waste of Malcolm McDowell, who's one of my favorite actors. They could have given him a really beefy role. They could have, used that movie to, tell a much better story. And
they could have just told them, hey, just choose not to age.
Well, yeah, there's that.
You're an DeLorean.
It was an empty death for Captain Kirk. It was a horrible way for the Captain Kirk to die. I think it was just a bad idea. From a screenwriting perspective, I think they could have done a lot better with what they had. But they were writing, the 2-part conclusion to TNG at the same time. The same writers, Brandon Braga and Ronald D. Moore. So they were stretched pretty thin. And I'm sure for both, they had deadlines that were rapidly approaching. When you work in television, you work 14, 16-hour days, especially if you have to show up to makeup at 2 o'clock in the morning to get all that Klingon stuff on, or the alien of the week, whatever it is. So right. They were under a lot of stress, and they made a bad movie. It wouldn't be the first time.
Hey Cap, it's getting about 10 o'clock here. I'm gonna punch out. I got dishes and stuff to do. Thanks for having me on. Bird,
Absolutely.
Great to see you. Gorilla, great to see you. Cardinal Sin.
See you,
folks, today is a day in America. We honor those who fought for this republic and unfortunately wrote the check for the full amount and it got cashed in.
And for whom we have the rights that we enjoy now, however much they may be eroding.
Yeah, exactly.
But still,
I'll drink to that.
we've had 200 plus years of people fight for this country, and we enjoy the freedoms of a lot of the sacrifices of people throughout all the various wars, conflicts. Not even that; those who sometimes we think about that, just the wars. Think about those. Also, remember some of them. Like for example, the day I went and got my retirement card at Shaw Air Force Base. I thought this was going to be one of the happiest days of my life. It was one of the most somber and humbling for me because I found out that that morning a young Air Force captain died during a pilot mission. They were doing training. He had a pilot error. He ejected, but unfortunately, there was a mechanical error and the chute did not deploy.
Oh, that's awful.
And,
yeah, that'll bring a base down.
And yeah, that was kind of like I literally for about, I don't know, about 10, 15 minutes, I was sitting in my car with my wife and I'm just kind of wrestling with this. I'm like, yeah, I said it and I don't say this very often. But I said, this isn't fair. So as a young man had a baby, he was young, he was only in his 20s. I'm like, and I'm still here. I made it 20 years. This guy didn't even make it, past the base at this point. It's heartbreaking.
It is. And you know what? There are many, many stories like that. I mean, this wasn't even a live fire event, probably. It just, war games, that kind of thing. But I mean, to add to your point, the things that American veterans have been through are I mean, there are just some awful things, and that's part and parcel of being a veteran. You're gonna see some gnarly stuff, and yeah, you might die. You might have to give up your life. You might be tortured, and that's why we remember them.
Absolutely. And with that, I'm gonna take off. You all have a blessed one.
Yeah, we'll see you.
You too, man. Good to see you. Well, that's really brought everything down.
Yep. That
Coffee is strong with this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to get more coffee myself. But before I do that, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. I do want to thank everybody who's been on the panel, everybody who's been in the chat. Thank you so much. And, yeah, for those of us in the U.S., please do remember those who have died for our freedom. And we honor them today. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
See ya.